Hello, legit KidLit viewers. I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Alexis. Today we welcome middle grade author Elly Swartz. Elly, can you describe yourself in 3 words?
Yes. Okay. So I love this question and I sort of revised it as a writer often does. So I'm going to give you 4 words: mom, writer, optimist, worrier. Worrier may come under mom, but I have it as a separate category.
Also, side note, Elly was on our show last year, so we can link that episode down below so you can also hear about her other book, Dear Student. Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you.
So, Elly, we might have, yes, welcome back. We might have stalked your webpage a bit this time around, and we know that there's a story behind growing up with a crooked birthday cake or crooked birthday cakes. Please tell us more about this.
Okay, so first, I do want to say thank you for having me back. Thank you for having me on. I love hanging out with you guys. I love your podcast. As far as crooked birthday cakes go, so my mom was a great cook, not a great baker. So she went, the Pillsbury box kind of baking. And for whatever reason, I honestly do not know why, all of her birthday cakes came out crooked. So fast forward many years, my mom passed away young, and I had a family, and I also love to cook, but baking is not my strength. So I also go the, Pillsbury box route. And as genetics would have it, my birthday cakes come out crooked too, and it just honestly makes me deliriously happy.
Oh,
So,
I love that.
Crooked birthday cakes for the love. I don't know why or how, but it seems to be a tradition that has kept on in our family.
That's actually really
I
special.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, switching gears a little bit, we are so excited to chat with you about your newest book, Hidden Truths. So that I don't think has anything to do with crooked birthday cakes, but can you tell us 5 things that relate to your book and or helped to inspire the writing of it?
Yes, I'm really excited about this book. It flies into the air, or flies onto the shelf on Halloween. So the first thing I was thinking about objects that inspire or moments in time that have inspired aspects of this book. One is the heart necklace that Danny actually finds in Gigi's wooden jewelry box towards later in this story. And that heart necklace was a necklace that my mom gave me when I was younger. And in the story, it reminds Danny to always follow her heart. And I feel like that aspect was really important to me in writing the story, being true to yourself and always following your heart and making decisions that I used to say to my kids, like, at the end of the day, you want to be able to put your head on the pillow and feel good about who you are and the decisions you've made in your life, in your day. And so that's staying true to yourself. So that heart in the story was inspired from real life.
Yeah.
Okay, this is one I could not bring in or show you, which is why I wanted to have a discussion about it. The bathroom wall in my 9th grade gym locker room. That inspired part of this story, part of Eric's journey. When I was in 9th grade, I had a lot of friends. I was a cheerleader. I felt pretty good in my skin. But one day I was called over by my gym teacher, and she brought me in and showed me on the bathroom wall, there was something really horrible that I will not say because it's not appropriate, written about me on the bathroom wall. And I was devastated. And that led to 2 girls who I didn't know. I never knew them. I mean, I never had any interaction with them. I had no idea why they hated me, why they targeted me. Like, I didn't know them or have any connection to them. But it started there, and it led to, certain threats that happened about that they were going to beat me up on a school trip. And I begged my mom, I'm like, you have to chaperone or I'm going to die. Like, like that fear you have. And so a lot of the bullying that happens to Eric in the story was inspired by that time in my life. And as I said, I had friends. I mean, I felt good about who I was, but there were these girls, and Eric's journey, where there is, it was really important to me in the world in which we live in today, whether it's traditional physical bullying, words, they hurt. As much as anything else, words stick to you like the gum on your shoe, and it hurts. And then the cyberbullying, and then the aspect really of silence when you have the opportunity to stand up for somebody. So that part of the story, that's a big piece of Eric's journey and how Danny plays into it, and Meadow and Rachel in a very different way. So that was inspired by the bathroom stall. The red bucket of balls that is in the book, that is on the cover. This red bucket of balls was the red bucket of balls that we had growing up, with a bunch of baseballs in them. And we would bring it to the field and my kids would play ball. And that, to me, what that personifies, that aspect of this story for Danny and for Eric, is the idea that the world doesn't define us, and that we are way more than the labels that are put on us. I mean, Danny was a baseball player, is a baseball player, but has to learn what she is beyond being a baseball player. And Eric has ADHD, and that he needs to realize that he is way more than the expectations and the constructs of the way the world has defined him. So that bucket of balls kind of inspired that aspect of the story. The crossword puzzles that Eric does, I used to do with my gram. She was like masterful, and I was not. But I love that. I love that there are people in your life that touch your heart, and they pass away, but they still play a really big part of who you are and the connections you make in your own life. And then Casey, the dog, was our dog. This dog we had, so I'll get to the time in my life that this was written, but at that time we had a dog named Casey, who was a golden retriever. And she was so beloved to our family. And that there is a part in the story where Danny connects with Casey and feels like she sees her grandmother through her dog. And that is, so my mom, as I shared, died young. And there was a moment after she passed, actually, it was probably like a year later, where I felt like I was connecting with my mom through my dog. Now, it was like seconds, whether it's religious, spiritual, just want to believe that the people you love stay with you. I don't know. I have no explanation for it other than it was a feeling I had that was incredibly strong. It lasted seconds and then it went away. That part of the story was also inspired by Casey and something that happened in my life. So those are the objects or moments in life that inspired certain aspects of my story. I love that question. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. So your book is multiple points of view. Did you feel that it was difficult or easy to write from dual points of view?
I felt it was necessary. It wasn't a matter of it being hard or easy. The book was originally written only from Eric's point of view. And I realized at some point in the journey to getting this story published that it wasn't just Eric's journey, it was Danny's. And so I had to write a whole other, you can't just put in a person. Like now they're not just a secondary character, right? They're also the main character, and they need their own secondary characters. They need their journey, their life. And so I just felt that this story needed to hear from both Danny and Eric. It's interesting. When I first wrote Finding Perfect, my first book about Molly with OCD, I wrote that as a dual point of view. And my editor at the time said that they felt it was a story that was really just Molly's and that I should go deeper. And I learned then that writing from a dual point of view is only when you actually just cannot tell the story from one person. It's not that it makes it better. It's just that it can't really happen. This story, I want my readers, the world is so black and white. You're right or you're wrong. You're like a friend or you're not. But there's so much gray that happens. Mm-hmm. And I feel like when Danny and Eric have these falling out moments, you see why Danny is doing what she's doing. You see why Eric is doing what he's doing. And I hope that kids can have more empathy or understanding about and see that everything is a little more gray than maybe they might first assume that it is, that stuff is actually going on that triggers them to act the way they're doing.
Life lessons. Whew.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit. Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about these characters and what you love about them.
Oh my God. I love them. They've become sort of friends or family. I sort of expect them to show up at the dinner table. So Danny is that, hotshot kid. I just feel like we all knew. She knows exactly what she wants. She wants to be the first girl on the all-boys baseball team. I admire her determination, her strength, her willing to not let gender stereotypes define her. She's upending that, and she's got a path, and she is going for it. So I love that about her. She is strong and just willing to upend those stereotypes like nobody's business. And when things don't go as planned, she has to learn how to redefine herself. And that takes some time and some hurdles. Eric, what I love about Eric is his endless curiosity, is his willingness. He loves who he is. It's the world that has issues with his forgetfulness, not him. He's happy to like a lot of things. I think his curiosity, his willing to go down those rabbit holes and see things from all different directions and see things and figure out problems in ways that nobody else can, and is willing to take the time and see them, is his superpower. I love that he creates this character sideways, and that is really emblematic of his ability, not his inability, not his struggle, but his strength. I love that he is somebody who trusts and can be trusted. And he really fights for the things that are important to him, whether it's a cause or a friendship. And so I love these characters. I hope you guys love them. I hope readers love them. And maybe there are times that readers are going to be mad at them, one of them or both of them. But I hope there are parts of each character that the readers can kind of see themselves in or see somebody else in, that they're like, oh, I get it now. You know, a little more kindness and empathy and grace.
Oh my gosh. You make me just want to meet them so bad.
Jump into the story.
A bookstore or library or classroom near you, you know,
Yes.
coming Halloween.
Yes.
So
I love it.
Yeah. So speaking of Danny and Eric, there was a question, a very serious question on your webpage. Hashtag Team Eric or hashtag Team Danny. And so my question is, do we really have to choose?
and
can you choose?
I guess you don't have to choose, but I'm really curious, if you did have to choose, which team would you be on? I've gotten different feedback, and that, I guess that to me is what I'm most curious about, is there really isn't a right or wrong team, but I'm curious as to, it's interesting to me that different readers are resonating with different characters for different reasons. Tiffany, we spoke a little bit about this early on, how everybody's own experience, every reader's personal experience is what they bring to the page. So somebody who has been injured because and sideline them from, whether it's a sport, piano, teaching, writing, parenting, whatever their journey is, can identify a bit with the angst and anguish and frustration that Danny is experiencing. And those who have had labels put upon us by others, or whose friends maybe didn't stand up for us when they could have, you know, resonate maybe a bit more with Eric's journey. So I'm just curious as to where readers fall. And it seems that readers have been both Team Eric and Team Danny, depending on the reader. Well, what about you guys? Do you have a team that you currently support, or are you an equal opportunity reader?
I mean, definitely equal opportunity. I think we both probably are. But after hearing your description, I think I'm feeling a little more hashtag Team Eric at the moment. But I definitely have to read the book and figure out for myself which one I'm going to go with. Alexis?
I think I'm Team Eric. So if you've read the book, or when you go out and read the book, leave a comment, or, you know, tag Elly on social media and tell her what team you're on.
I'm so curious.
Yeah, I love that.
No wrong
answers.
Love that question. Just curiosity.
Just who are you rooting for?
Yes.
Love it.
And now, is it true that anybody who wants to hear the first chapter of any of your books can go on your website and find you, or is it on your website, or is it on YouTube? Find you reading the first chapter?
So it's on both. So my website links to YouTube. So that is where, yes, you can absolutely find, as you can see here on my website, there is a tab for educators. It is my way of saying thank you to all of the teachers, librarians, homeschoolers who are working hard to share the book love. And so this tab is for you. It has me reading all of the first chapters of my books, including Hidden Truths. Yay. And it has SEL resources. It has it also has curriculum guides and activities, discussion questions for all of my books, all free to just download and use what works for you. So check it out, and thank you.
Love that.
That's great. I know a lot of teachers use that first chapter Friday. So to hear the author read the story, I think is so much more powerful and so cool.
I love that some of the feedback from early readers, teachers who are reading the ARC, is that they think that Hidden Truths would make a great read aloud. And I love that, because especially with the dual points of view and reading it as a class, I feel like there's just so much discussion that can happen. You're really getting a lot of different representation of a lot of I mean, it's obviously 2 points of view, but they each bring their own different experiences. So I hope teachers do that, or
That's
just at
cool.
home, around the dinner table. I think it's a really fun book to do that with. And I think it can really launch into a lot of interesting conversations.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
really cool. Yeah. So, true or false, your book, Hidden Truths, took 22 years to write.
So, true. So that is I know, this was the first book I wrote. The original title was actually A Promise Between Friends, and I wrote it in 2001. I had just read the book Mick Hart Was Here by Barbara Park out loud with my son, who is turning 31, who at the time was in 5th grade. And I finished that book with him, and it made me laugh, and it made me cry, and it made me feel all the feels. And I turned to my family and said, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. I want to write books that make kids feel all the feels. So I wrote Hidden Truths that summer. I wrote a draft. And then just 22 years later,
I love
it's
it.
coming out. So it was
Wow.
there are just some stories I think you can never walk away from. They just really imprint on your heart. The characters stayed with me. Every few years I would go back, because hopefully I'm becoming a better writer, right? With every book I write, all the books I read, things I'm learning. So I would go back to the manuscript. I would try my hand at some new tools, new ideas, new thoughts, new skills, and infuse the story with fresh eyes and cross my fingers and hope for the best. And then I think it was when I finally put the book in dual points of view, when it really found its heart. And so soon after that was when it sold. So yes, 22 years. So the message is never give up. Whatever you're doing,
Yes.
if it means something to you, just stay with it. Like, you've totally got this.
I love that. That's so
Incredible.
cool. Yes.
And it's all about like time and place too, I think. Like even for me, sometimes I'll start reading a book and I'm like, I don't think I'm ready for this right now. And I've put it away and I've come back to it, months later, and then maybe then I'm ready to finally read it. I think sometimes readers give up, like, they pick up a book and then they're like, I'm not going to read this one. And then it's, gone forever. But just like with writing too, like you have to maybe go back to what you've been working on, go back to what you maybe picked up and didn't need before. And it might be something you need now. I don't know.
No, it's absolutely true. I mean, I think, just like readers bring their own experiences to a book. So whatever your experiences are at that moment or leading up to that moment are going to inform whether that story is right for you. So fast forward 5 years, you now have different experiences, different times in your life that may make that book resonate with you in a very different way than it did years prior. And same thing goes with writing. Every time I sit down to write, I am bringing new skills, new experiences, new lens to the story that I'm working on. And the story I write today, even if given the same characters, all the same information, is going to be very different than the story I wrote 10 years ago. Because I'm different as a writer and as a person, bringing different experiences to the page.
We're so grateful that you picked it up and, didn't give up on it and
Thank you.
brought both perspectives to the story, because obviously, we all need this in our lives. So thank you. Before we leave, can you lead us through a quick writing activity?
Yes. Okay. So this is, I do a lot of writing workshops when I visit schools. And because a lot of questions I get are, how do you think of your ideas? Where do they come from? And a lot of kids, including my own, had a really hard time with the universe of ideas, right? Like, so for instance, my youngest came home and he could write anything in his writing journal. It was 3rd grade. And he couldn't think of anything. like the universe is too big. He needed to anchor it in something. He loved carrots. I'm like, great, write about carrots. So he wrote, I have a bound book, my big book of carrots. Every night he wrote about carrots, carrot superheroes, carrot friendships, carrot frenemies. It didn't matter. He just needed to anchor his writing in something so that he could start.
Yeah.
That's what this activity is inspired by. So you each brought something that is meaningful to you in some way. Could be a carrot.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we have here? I need to know what do we got? Alexis, what do we have?
This is a cat toy.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
there's a little cat. It's like a little spider, and I love Halloween too. So there you go.
Okay, Susan.
Yes.
Okay, and what do we have? Tiffany, what do you have?
Oh, I have this like paper flower that my son made me, and on the leaf it says "I love you."
Oh,
Okay, so I love these things. So what I do is ask writers, kids, adults, just bring something or think of something, whether it's a photo, an object, a pet. I mean, maybe you don't want to bring your pet to class, but bring something that is meaningful to you. And then I want you to take a minute and write, what is the emotion attached to that object? No judgment, and the important thing in this writing exercise, if you do it with your class or you do it at home, there's no right or wrong. There's no wrong answers here. So I want you to write the emotion. And then I want you to just take one sentence and write something about the object that you brought, either why you brought it or that moment in time. Just a short, just to anchor the moment. So basically, what we're doing here, so from your emotion and from your object, you have options now. Now you have anchored something important to you. You have put your stake in the sand. This is basically fan fiction about your life. So, right, you know how you write fan fiction? You can open up a book and write from any page. You take a moment in your life, something important to you, so that you have that emotional connection. And then you get to decide. You can write a story making up what happened before. You can write a story making up what happened after. You can write a story making up, switch the point of view. I mean, maybe Alexis, you're writing from the point of view of your cat. Mm-hmm. Or Tiffany, your son, or the object itself. It allows you to use that object so that the universe of ideas doesn't feel so large. Or you can take the emotion from that object and use just that: love, tenderness, pride. For instance, this perfume bottle was what I used in Finding Perfect. When Molly's mom left the family and that desperation she felt, this was my mom's perfume bottle. I shared that she passed young. And this was perfume my dad had made for my mom for an anniversary. And I sprayed it every day after she passed. And then one day it ran out. This perfume bottle really embodies a lot of emotion for me. And obviously, Molly's mom doesn't pass away, but she leaves. So that what I used was the emotion, that longing, that desperation, that I would do anything for one more moment with my mom, anything, to hold her like buttery soft hand, to hug her, to smell the way that she smelled every time I walked into a room. And so this exercise allows you to narrow the universe of ideas. Because me coming into your life, your class, and saying, ideas are everywhere. I mean, that's great. And they are, but that's not always helpful. And I think often of my son when it was just too big a universe. So you take something meaningful, because if you write from that place of true connection, you write from something that really matters to you. And that's why I'm asking you to bring something, and not just anything, but something that is important to you. Then you can use that emotion to inform your writing, you can write a post-apocalyptic world based on what happens next in your cat toy. I mean, what is your cat doing in 2040? You can take that moment and embellish it and expand on it. And so once you do that, now you got to let me know what happens. But here is a pro tip for revision. Okay, so you've written your story. And just a heads up, my first draft, I always call Swiss cheese, because I know it's going to stink and have lots of holes. It's better that I know ahead of time that it's going to be a work in progress. So I use emojis in my revision. So we all use them in life. So I take an emoji and put it on the beginning of each chapter and the end of each chapter. What is the emotion going into my chapter? What is the emotion coming out of it? It cues me visually. If all I see are happy faces, I've basically written one giant Hallmark card. Not really great for a book. You need to have your characters feel all the feels, because that's life, right? You feel the stuff that you're proud of, love, happiness, and then you feel the stuff that, we're all working on: envy, hate, frustration, anxiety. And so using those emojis, whether it's paragraph to paragraph, stanza to stanza, chapter to chapter, fiction, nonfiction, it allows you as a writer, or if you're doing a partner swap with a class and you want to share, you each respectfully pick a partner, read each other's work and say, oh, you could really mix up the emotion here. Just put a little smiley face or a sad face or a silly face. And it allows you to cue yourself visually, because I think revision for me is all about accessing story from many different lenses, not sitting and staring at the words. So it's just a pro tip for after you write this story of what you can do to dive into it again in the revision process. So that is what I've got for you guys today.
Oh, I love that. I love all of that. That was really great advice. Thank you.
Hearts everywhere.
Hearts emoji.
Thank you. Oh, very appropriate.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, Elly, for joining us again, and for all of your valuable nuggets of wisdom for writing and your new story, Hidden Truths. I'm so excited. We are so excited for it to come to this world.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me on. Please know if you pre-order, there's like happy stuff that can happen. And just go to my website. Or go online. There's tons of places on all of my platforms for you to check it out. But thank you both for having me. I am really grateful to have been a part of this conversation.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yay. Thank you, Elly. Go get this book.
Thank you both so much. Bye, friends.
Thank you.